Hey guys, True Man of Steel here. It's a little late recording this review. Um, Busy day. I had school, work, but here I'm going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014 film starring Chris Pratt as Starlord, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer, Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon, and Vin Diesel as fan favorite Groot. It was such a fun movie to watch. I had been looking forward to it for a while. I remember when Marvel first announced it, I was very like, oh, okay. I mean, like, because for the most part, when it comes to Marvel movies, like beyond like Captain America, Iron Man, and Spider Man, the Hulk, I didn't really know a whole lot of these characters, and especially the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like me being a comic book fan, like I'm aware of most of them now, but even the Guardians of the Galaxy at the time, like I had no idea who they were at all. I'm just like, oh, okay, they're going with like a non-traditional approach to superheroes, I guess. Sure, like we'll see what happens. And the movie was just such like a fun movie experience. It's like the definition of like a movie going experience. Like there's fun action sequences and like great dialogue. It's like funny dialogue mainly. Chris Pratt is Star Lord, just like I've never watched Parks and Recreation, but from like the clips and stuff I've seen through like Tumblr and Facebook and all that, like Chris Pratt very much seems like he's just being a little more of himself in Parks and Recreation. There's a lot of Chris Pratt in this movie, which is a really good thing. He was a big plus in my book. I'm not really familiar with the Star Lord character, but for the movie, it was so funny, and the fact that he had like an awesome mixtape that had like hits from the '70s. Hooked on a Feeling, that's just I had heard that song before when I was younger because my dad was kind of into that stuff because he kind of grew up in that era. And Hooked on a Feeling is like the theme song. It's so catchy and it fits this movie. I don't know how, but it does. And another thing, just another fun part of this movie, just the fact that like it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not like it's so drastically different from Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and the fact that it just like to me like obviously I know these characters in the same universe as like Captain America and the Avengers and all that, but for me personally, like even though I know that, it's still hard to imagine like Captain America and Iron Man being in the same universe as like this like weird group of like heroes, quote unquote heroes, like a guy calling himself Star Lord, adopted daughter of Thanos. Drax the Destroyer, just like a walking, just I can't even describe it. Just a massive like Hulk like being who's not as big as the Hulk, of course. And then there's Rocket Raccoon. He was Bradley Cooper nailed it. Like honestly, I forgot that Bradley Cooper was even voicing him. He was just like such. He brought something to the character I wasn't expecting, and obviously, like when I saw the trailers, and all honestly, like whenever I saw like the Rocket stuff, and like I heard Bradley Cooper's voice, I'm like, yeah, we'll see. Because initially, like I didn't really think Bradley Cooper was the right fit. Like once I actually heard the voice, I'm just like, I don't know, we'll see. And I finally see the movie. I'm like, the trailers didn't do Rocket enough justice, in my opinion. He was just so unbelievably funny, and it's like he brought like a certain like depth to the character, even though he's just like a talking raccoon. It's just like you kind of forget that he's a raccoon. Like you kind of think he's like one of them, like one of the guys. But then like he's a talking raccoon who's like shoots stuff and just like he wants guys prosthetic legs, like mechanical legs for like no reason, just to mess with Starlord. And it was just just Guardians of the Galaxy is honestly like one of my favorite movies of the year, just for the fact that like I had such a good time watching it. And of course, like Captain America and X-Men: Days of Future Past, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, those are all like good, great movies. Like those are all like obviously like those are my top three. But Guardians of the Galaxy, just I want to put it up there, but it's just like because this is what a movie experience should be. It's just everything that has like witty humor and good action and just like the cast just works. It's weird. That's the whole thing about the movie. It's like it's so weird that it works. And this movie just blew me away, and I'm so in shock that it I like it so much. I mean, I've been a fan of Marvel movies in general since I was a kid. I mean, like, I've never been a quote unquote like hard like Marvel fan. Like that's it. I've never been like that because like beyond like when I was a kid, like I never read Marvel comics. They just didn't really click with me. You know, the most I read was like Spider-Man, if anything, and I just never got into Marvel comics. The movies were all I liked them. Like when I was a kid, like I just saw like superheroes and I'm like, yeah, cool, superheroes, like awesome. But then like I don't know, with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like such a bizarre movie. It's just something that like I never would have seen myself liking. It's just so weird, like the concept of it, and just the soundtrack of the movie. I have to bring that up before I forget. The soundtrack of the movie, just like the best movie soundtracks ever. Like all the songs, and then just like one of my favorite moments was in the end. And this is a bit of a obviously if you're watching this, you probably have seen the movie, so this is gonna be a bit of a spoiler. If you don't want to listen to it, just either mute it for like a minute or whatever. But in the end, when after they defeat Ronan the Accuser, and like the Nova Corps fixes their ship, and and then Quill finally opens the gift from his mom that she gave him in the beginning of the movie, and it's Awesome Mixtape Volume 2, and there's a Jackson 5 song. I'm just like, dude, this movie just like keeps getting like better and better, because who doesn't like the Jackson 5? Like, come on. And then just like it was a good ending song, and then God, another thing is like it made me care about the characters so much in a way that like it's just I wasn't again like I wasn't expecting to like these characters all that much. I'm like, because I went to it of course thinking that like, okay, it's a Marvel movie, so it's more than likely going to be good. And I watched it. I'm just like, dude, this movie is just like so much fun, just pure fun. But just every little scene, and like it made you care about the characters too. Like when Rocket was like drunk, talking about like, I don't want to be ripped apart and remade again and again and again. And I'm just like, dude, like I wasn't thinking they were gonna go there. Like I don't really know the history of Rocket Raccoon. Again, like I don't really know these characters and their comic book history. But just I didn't like that's kind of like a dark place to go to. Like even though it was a brief mention, that's not the type of place I think they would go. And just like just certain character moments, like when Groot died and he sacrificed himself, when he like put them all, he like surrounded them all like with himself. And then I'm like, are you like at the end, like again, spoiler, just I already kind of said it earlier when I said he sacrificed himself. But again, spoiler, mute it if you don't want to hear it. But in the end, when Groot dies, and I'm just like, what? Like they killed Groot? Are you kidding me? I was just like so blown away that like, why would they kill him? He was like such a great character. Everyone loved him. And then when he comes back and like he sprouts out of the plane, he's just like, ah. I know that's such a weird thing to do, but that's what he does in the movie, and that's my best interpretation. But when he's like, breathe, and I'm just like, dude, they made this movie for me. Like I'm just like, why would they kill Groot? That's such a dumb thing to do. Why would they kill him? And when they brought it back, I'm like, this movie's good. This movie's so good. Negative thoughts on the film though. Ronan the Accuser was not the best villain. To me, he reminded me a lot of Malekith from Thor: The Dark World. I mean, like, I think he's a better villain than Thor: The Dark World, but to me, it's like he wasn't a villain that you really understood why he was doing what he was doing. Like, I don't know, I just didn't see the reason why. I mean, I somewhat understood that, like, he did not agree with the whole peace treaty thing between the Nova Corps and the Kree. But like that was like barely addressed, and like, of course, like the movie's about the Guardians of the Galaxy, not necessarily the villain, Ronan the Accuser. But to me, he wasn't the best Marvel villain. Obviously, like the best Marvel villain, obviously so far is Loki, and nothing can top Loki. But Ronan the Accuser is a step up from Malekith, but not by much. The actor did of course, the actor did a good job with what he was given, and of course, I'm gonna give him credit there. But I just think the villain was not that great. Other than that, I don't really have any major complaints with the movie. I don't. I guess like Nebula. I just wish Nebula got more screen time and more like real dialogue. I know she's like, I guess she's supposed to be like more like Cybertronic that way, and that's just how her character is. But to me, she came off like a little flat sometimes. But overall, like that's just being nitpicky. Yeah, that's all the negatives I can think of. Just every actor's performance in this movie, like Zoe Saldana, like Oh my gosh, the lines in this movie, I swear. This. Oh, hold on, gotta fix that. I just, I get every actor's performance in this movie, just like every all the lines, just like we're just like Kevin Bacon, and just like the whole like Footloose reference, and then like when like you think Starlord and Gamora are gonna kiss, and she's like, "I'm not gonna fall for your pelvic sorcery" or whatever that line was. It was just like, dude, that's something I would see on Tumblr. I know it, and it was just such just overall the movie in general just so good. Like had such great lines, and like the chemistry between the characters was so weird but so good. Chris Pratt just he needed to be this character. He needed to be a super like quote unquote superhero. He just he needed this. And look, he's so ripped. And it's funny because like the first time I ever saw him, he was in that movie Wanted, and I'm like, of course, this like douchey looking guy, like whatever. Like I don't know how he like got like with James McAvoy's girlfriend in that movie, but he was always like chubby. And I'm just like, okay, he's like the chubby guy. I mean, of course, like I'm chubby. I mean, like I can kind of relate. So I'm like, oh, like okay, this guy's just like chubby, but like in Wanted, like that's what I'm talking about. And Wanted, he was like the chubby douchebag. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I've seen him in like bits and pieces of stuff from Parks and Recreation. I'm like, oh, he's kind of funny. This movie, hilarious, man. And then just like he got so ripped for this movie, just gives me hope that maybe I can have a body like that one day. All right, overall, final rating out of 10, Guardians of the Galaxy, I would give 9.2. Just like the Running the Accuser thing, that's like my only real gripe with it. Just the soundtrack, Groot, Rocket, Starlord, Gamora, and even Drax has the funny lines when you call Gamora a whore. Just all great things. Great movie. Recommend it to any Marvel fan, even DC fans. Like, of course, DC fans are a little more open to like seeing what else is out there. Um, Again, like anyone can go watch this movie, Marvel or DC fan. It's just a fun movie. Well, I've gone a little longer than I wanted to, and I'm just gonna call it. I'm not gonna call it Nate yet, but yeah, that'll be it for me for a little bit, guys. I'll let you know what review I want to do next. Yeah, you'll be definitely hearing from me soon. So there's my review of Guardians of the Galaxy 9.2, I think, is what I said. 9.2 out of 10. All right, guys, I'll see you around. Thanks for listening.